Cloud. And we're on. Okay.
Okay. So let's see. So I need to read this in terms of the call to order, that in response to the governor's executive orders regarding COVID-19, this meeting will be held remotely using Zoom online meeting platform.
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
just it's a like a quick paragraph, right? Yeah, we're
Right. Okay. Okay. And so I'm calling the meeting to order at 6:32 via Zoom online meeting platform. And members of the public wishing to listen to the meeting in real time can do so by calling 1-646-558-8656 or using the Zoom app.
we don't. It doesn't look like we have anybody else in besides commission members right now.
So in the meeting is our members Jim Fedorich, Dan McGinnis, Thomas Kalinowski, Robert DeMalley, myself, Christine Altman, and staff member Jeremy Leifert. And we need to accept the minutes for the January 9th, 2020 regular meeting.
And just there was a couple people that came in last second there. Christine's got to take a roll call vote for anything we need to do motions for. Okay. Just so we get them all on the recording.
So, but I'm still going to ask for a motion.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to ask for a motion to accept the January 9th, 2020 regular meeting.
So moved.
I'll make a motion. This is Tom.
Okay. So Thomas made the motion, and we can vote. Jim.
Need a second on that?
I second it. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I have a second?
That's Jim.
Okay. And then all in favor, I'm just going to go through members. Jim?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries. We also need a motion for the January 19th, 2020 site walk.
So moved.
That's Dan.
Dan, okay. And a second?
I second it.
Okay. And then
Bob?
we'll go through the vote. Jim?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Tom?
Abstain.
Okay. Robert?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Member of the public.
Okay.
No, I'm talking about Bob's.
Sorry. Okay.
Oh, Bob was a member of the public?
No.
Yeah, she wants to say something, but you don't want to hear it.
Oh, I don't see the screen right now. All I see
Okay, all right.
I see the agenda. Okay, and then,
So that was unanimous with Tom abstaining, right?
yeah, he abstained, yep.
Okay.
And then we need to accept the January 21st, 2020 special meeting.
I'll make a motion. This is Tom again.
I'll second.
I second it.
Okay, and we'll do roll call for the vote. Jim?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous, motion carries.
Okay.
Okay. No new business.
Well, that's good to get those off the agenda.
Yep. Old business, Earth Day cleanup postponement discussion.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody may have seen that email I sent about mid-afternoon today.
Yes. Yeah.
I needed to get that out before, because I'm not going to be back in the office until Tuesday. So I sent out a what do you call it, press release to the newspapers and officially canceled it. But I basically said if anyone can go out and do some cleanups while adhering to the distancing recommendations and they can do it safely, we can maybe provide some of the problem spots if anybody had any desire to go do that. And as of now, we could always change that, but as of now, I tentatively scheduled to just combine it with the fall cleanup in September.
Yeah, that's a good
I
idea.
I just have a
I-
feeling if we try to
That's a
schedule
good idea.
summer, we're gonna wind up kicking it out again.
Yeah.
So, September hopefully will be a safe choice by that point.
Okay.
Hope so.
Yeah,
Really.
we're scheduled to do that cleanup on September 19th. So, we can just, I mean, it's still 2020, so we can celebrate Earth Day 50 in September.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. That works.
That's a good idea.
So, you know, we got to obviously monitor what's going to happen with the COVID-19, but you know, as of right now, I think that's probably the best course.
Okay. Do we need to take any action on that?
I don't think so, as long as nobody objects. I don't think we need to make a motion.
Seems like a no-brainer at this
Okay, yeah.
point. And just to keep an eye on what's happening and,
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll just put a reminder maybe to get it on our agendas back, maybe in the middle of the summer or something. We can
Okay.
start talking about it.
okay.
That's
Anyone
all
have
I
any
had for
other
that.
input on
Yeah,
it?
I mean, everybody saw that, should have seen that, I guess. If you haven't, it's in your email from about 2:00 this afternoon.
Okay. All right, so then the next thing for old business is the continued discussion for the schedule of open space parcel inventory and data collection.
Yeah, I think we can, you know, some of these we might still be able to do if people don't mind going out solo, maybe for some of the ones that are, you know, less of an issue to see fairly close to a road, and we don't think we're going to run into issues with neighbors.
Mhm.
I'm thinking maybe I'll start just taking some of these and doing drive-bys and just getting a lay of the land to see, not going in and doing the work, but just seeing how the properties look and whether they might be doable solo,
Got it. And
at
then,
least for now,
we'll
for
each,
the next couple of months.
and then we'll each take some.
Yeah, and I, you know, once I take a look at them, I mean, we got a lot of small ones still that we might just, it might be a good time to just get the small ones done.
Okay,
Because these big ones, we really want to walk as a group, so we gotta,
right.
you know, we gotta hold off on the big ones.
Yeah, I have
reasonable.
plenty of time, like every morning. I could do it as part of my morning hike.
Yeah, everybody, he's got time for walking around.
Yeah, and I can bring, you know, I can either bring one of my kids with me or, you know, like it doesn't have to be totally solo. It could be
Yeah,
something that's
I mean, I just want to work.
isolating with me.
Yeah. I just want to look at them from a standpoint of, you know, are we getting, you know, are we in a cramped neighborhood, or does it look like we're going to have problems with neighbors if we go in
Yeah.
there solo?
Yeah,
So I'll just take a quick drive by them and maybe shoot out some emails.
okay.
Yeah, I'd be happy to help as well.
Yep.
Okay,
So if that's, I mean, if it sounds like a good plan, I'll just work on that next week.
all right. That's fine. Okay, so the next item is the 2020 DEEP Open Space Acquisition Grant Round discussion.
Yeah, so we talked about this briefly last meeting. It was the grant round from DEP is open, and they pushed out the deadline to July 1st. So we've got that piece off of Winstead Road. Well, I can't remember the name of the property now, but it's right near right near Machuga. The
The one that has a trolley line through it?
part of it, yeah, that's up on the hill. Yep.
Okay,
Yep. So we have to get the property owner down in price because we have some money in our conservation fund, you know, our open space line. But it's not nearly as much as he's asking for right now. I mean, we have about 35 plus or minus thousand in that account, and he's asking for like 80.
so what was he asking? Has he come down at all?
No. Well, actually, it was you know,
Was
when we
it
did it like
140
10
at
years
one
ago.
point?
Yeah, when it was done like 10 years ago with Kim, he was up in the 120s, 125
Okay.
or something.
How many acres and has it been appraised at all?
It was appraised, but the appraisal's too old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
What was it
and
though?
I can't remember the acreage off the top of my head, but I think it's 30-ish, including the
Okay.
trolley.
Yeah. And how about what is it assessed for?
The assessment was like like 130 or 140. I didn't bring the paperwork home with me, but it was in the mid 100s.
And it's also, I mean, it's mostly wetlands, right?
It's mostly wetlands. I think they were assuming that it had access, like driveway access, like road access, and it really doesn't. The buildable parts up on the hill, I don't think have legal access.
Mm-hmm.
And I think.
Well, if it's up on the hill, it's near the highway too.
What's that?
That's right. It's right along the highway.
Yeah.
But I mean, the dry part must be on the by the highway.
Yeah, it kind of slow. You should say the dry part.
The dry part is by the highway.
Dry part. Yeah.
So when you go up, I think it's Machuga. It's a public road for a little ways, and then it just stops. It's a private road beyond there.
Okay.
And didn't you say in the meeting there was a house abutting the property that is affiliated with the owner or something like that?
There is, and that owner has rights to the access. But I think it was something in the zoning regulations that didn't allow. I think didn't allow the shared access or something. There was a reason for it.
So basically, the only party that this property has value to is the city.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
has
and
been
we can access.
over a decade.
Yeah, we have a piece of open space that allows us, that would be a budding piece that would allow us to access it. And I know, like Parks and Rec, we're looking at a small piece of it maybe for a small park, but the rest of it would, I mean, for us, the wetlands protection and the protecting that trolley line maybe for a future trail
Right,
side trail
right.
connection.
Right. Okay.
Is there any back taxes owed on it, or are they up to date?
No, last time I knew they were up to date.
They are. Uh-huh.
But the grant, I think, only offers us 65% of fair market value. So we have to chip in money for this. So we don't want to really bleed that whole account either.
Right. Well,
Right.
do we want to take some money to get an appraisal?
We would have to, yeah, if we were
Okay.
serious about it.
Okay.
So that would
Yeah,
have
I think first we've got to, allow the price to come down to something that we view as reasonable though, before we start shelling out money for appraisals and whatnot.
So
how many acres was it?
appraisal-
I think it was this computer's slow, so I don't want to bog it down trying to go into the map, but I think it was like 30 plus or minus.
30.
The appraisal would tell you
Yeah.
whether or not the price was reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we do have the old appraisal.
I think we need to look at that then, at least, because I doubt if the prices have changed dramatically since then. At least give us a ballpark.
What I could do is,
Well, I don't know that that's the case. If they thought that there was a way of accessing and there's not, and then the price is going to be lower. The value will be lower based on that.
Well, yeah, but at least again, it will give us a ballpark range of what the price could be.
Mhm.
I mean, if they're saying it's, worth 180,000, and we go, wait a minute, no, so we'll at least get an idea. It's not great, but it's a start.
yeah, I think it was somewhere in the 125 to 150 range. It was like the mid to low hundreds.
That's what the appraisal was?
Yeah, the appraisal that was like 8 to 10 years ago.
Yeah, and I believe you said too, Jeremy, that
That's not
the
good.
appraisal was ordered just before the 2008 cycle.
Yeah.
I mean, the prices
Oh, yeah.
have probably shifted.
What I can do
Oh,
is,
yeah.
if we don't have, I don't think we have an electronic copy of that appraisal. I can ask Lona to scan it in, and we can send it to everyone to look over.
But I think a 10-year-old
that'd be good.
appraisal isn't really that relevant right now.
No, it's not. Typically, they're only good for 6 to 7
6
months,
months.
even on a residential setting.
Do we,
But if we're
Could
just
we-
curious at what they looked at,
the money that we have in our account, could we afford an appraisal on it before we
Yeah.
go forward?
Yep.
I mean, appraisal should only cost what, maybe a grand? I'm
Grand or
guessing.
less, I would think, right?
Yeah, but we don't want to spend that money unless we know that the property owner's serious and he's going to come down somewhat.
Okay. Oh, I got you. Yeah.
We just don't
Yeah.
throw that money at it for nothing.
Yeah. You think they're, well,
He wants to sell, but he doesn't want.
Well, I have a question,
Yeah.
Jeremy. Like,
it
how
sounds
do you
like
know-
Howard's downtown.
Yeah,
Been for sale for how many years?
yeah.
20, so.
30 years?
No.
Well, the thing is that the property owner keeps checking in with us. He keeps making contact every once in a while and providing us maps and doing all that. But he doesn't want to. I mean, we got to work him over on the price.
So I have a question,
Well,
Jeremy. Do you have a price in mind?
I would have to work through, maybe look at the grant and talk it over with. I know Rista was heavily involved in the price negotiations, and Ray Drew was too.
Yeah.
So
So if he's reaching out to us, I mean, that's a signal that he's quite motivated, and if it's been in the process for quite some time, that also signals that there's not really much interest besides us looking into it. Which
I don't think
is a
so,
good
yeah.
point.
because it's not, like I said, I think he's starting to, I think he was realizing that it's not really buildable for anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But again, he won't budge on the price.
Well, excuse me. My recollection, Jeremy, of our last meeting was that you were, if we agreed that this was worth pursuing, spending some time on, that you would arrive at a number, however that process you recommend, but
Yeah.
arrive at a number or a ballpark that you would float to this guy and just say,
Yeah.
look, we're going to go after a grant, but we're not going to waste our time with it. Here's about what we think the total could be. Are you on board for this? If not, let's not waste our time.
Yeah, and part of that was we couldn't get a meeting together because of all this issue.
Yeah, right.
I just have to, carve out some time.
And then how much of our fund do you want to preserve? Like, what's your goal?
Well, I mean, if we're going to use, I think we'd have to have a good reason to use all of it. If it means we're going to get this piece of property, then I think we could stomach using the whole thing. But I think we got to know that it's a slam dunk.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't want to, then we have no money to do anything else,
Mhm.
That's not good.
for us, for conservation related.
Yeah, that's not good. I'd be really reluctant to get any more, to take it all.
Yeah.
I don't know what the exact figure is, but all of it sounds like,
Basically, we got to come up with 35% of whatever the cost is out of our account.
How is that? We may have to have this discussion before. How is that account usually funded?
So it's mostly through, like when we get a subdivision, if somebody doesn't want to set aside open space, they can basically give the city money to use for other conservation purposes. I don't know how else that would be funded. I don't know if anybody's ever given the city donations for conservation.
There was some for one project, but I think we had to give them back because we couldn't. It might have even been for this one, for all I know. There was something.
That's usually the
where
only
we did
two
have-
ways.
We did have donations. We had okay. So in the history of this whole thing, it was like it was growing very, very slowly from did we get some portion of maybe it was like a fee in lieu of.
Yeah, fee in lieu. That's the term.
One of the ways we were getting,
Subdivisions.
and then the other thing was maybe the last 2 years of or 3 years of Kim Barberi being the staff person. Something had happened where a tree fell on city, it was like city conservation land, and a tree from city conservation land fell on somebody's private property, and the city had to take care of the cleanup of that tree.
Oh, so some of that came out of that account.
And that came out of that account.
Mhm.
And at the time, Kim was like, "Wait a second, why is that our money that's coming out of that account?"
Whoops, I lost everybody.
Oh,
Are we back?
I think so.
I'm here.
okay. All right.
Okay, so the money came out of that account, and then Kim questioned that there was a line item that was going to Park and Recs for city, I think it was originally for our conservation land or open space.
Okay.
And why wasn't it coming out of that money? And from that discussion, we ended up getting that line item, and it was something like $5,000 or $6,000 a year.
Yeah, I vaguely remember, like, when I was looking through the file, I think there were donations specifically
donations.
to purchase that property that had to be returned when we couldn't close the deal.
We ended up losing the line item because when Rista came on, she didn't know where it came from, and that we were using it as a way of accruing money to acquire conservation land. So when they were doing the budget and she was questioned, she just didn't have the info.
Yeah, I saw it on this most recent budget, so I can
Oh,
grab
we have
that.
the line item back?
Yeah, well, you're talking about the one that we have our 35 grand in. Is that the one you're talking about?
They, well, I guess the problem was we didn't use it every year, and so the budget was removed. Do we
Yeah,
have
it's supposed to be.
money coming back in?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a capital line that just carries over from year to year. It's not supposed to be part of the regular city budget, and that's maybe where they messed up.
Oh, did they fix it?
I mean, it's there. I saw it.
good.
I saw it when we did the budget this year, so I can grab that. Yeah.
That's exciting, because I was really mad. I was really upset about that.
I don't know the history on it, but I saw it this year.
Okay, cool.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Yep.
To an earlier point, I guess someone's making, while this sounds like, and I agree that it sounds like a good opportunity for us if we can get it at the right price, a pretty good size, a sizable piece of property that does protect wetlands and also offers some other things, uses. But I guess the obvious question to me is, have we prioritized our acquisitions? Would this be the most important acquisition we could make at this time? I mean, I understand that we want to save money for other things, if there are other opportunities, but if this is if we all agree, and I don't have enough knowledge to even vote on it, but if we all agree that this was a really good opportunity we don't want to miss, and it's going to really have some impact, great. But I'd like to know if we have any other things we've been looking at or considered that we thought were significant, regardless of size.
Well, I can tell you from my standpoint, not since I've been here, but the big thing with that specific piece of property is it links other parcels
Right.
that the city has, and
Yeah.
it links to Dan's to Heritage Land Trust property too. So it links a bunch of pieces of
Mhm.
other open space. So that's always usually a high priority.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I'm kind of ambivalent about it because I think it's an important piece, but because of the fact that it's an unsaleable piece of property.
I mean, I think there's ways you can make it, but they're a little cost prohibitive, like, building the road out, extending it, making a cul-de-sac, getting the city to accept it. That's really the only way to do it, and the proper.
But that's serious money to do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not impossible.
Yeah.
Right, so I just don't see anybody willing to invest in that property other than one party, which is the city of Torrington.
One party, which might be able to, it's industrial land, so you only be able to sell it off for industrial use, not for residential.
Right. So in that way, it doesn't seem like a high price. Like, to me, it seems smarter to let him stew.
Maybe he'll get tired of waiting for us.
Yeah, I mean,
Come down on his own.
10 years.
Well, I think he's, like I said, I think he's showing he's fairly motivated since he's the one that's making inquiries to us. And I mean, if we can show him that we're serious.
Yeah. He probably also thinks that we're the only one that would be interested in buying it anyway.
Yeah.
So, you kind of keep tapping the, the possible source. It'd be interesting if we could somehow get an appraisal on it and get it back to the the seller and tell them, oh, this is what it the appraisal comes up with, rather than $120,000 or so it's an awful lot of money, and I don't know how much of it is wetlands, but that's as I remember on the Machuga Road there, a majority of that is wetlands.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
Currently, he's asking 80, right?
Yeah, and like I said, I think he's thinking that there's something buildable up top, but
So he's currently asking 80. I mean, maybe where I would go is that if he is stuck on this price, that perhaps he should pay for an appraisal. That proves that it's worth that.
and it proves his motivation, I think, too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe the best course action is just to meet with Ray Drew, because I think he was, doing the original negotiations, and see what he thinks. Just put the feelers out, and if we're gonna do the grant, we have 2.5 months to
Okay.
get it done. So we don't want to wait that long, but you don't exactly need to get it done tomorrow either.
Right.
Okay.
I would see if he would be willing, if he's motivated, he should be willing to do the appraisal and just kind of prove his motivation and its worth.
you would think, yeah, you would think.
So could I just circle back to the original question I had is, I actually think it's, not knowing what other options we have, I think it's a pretty good opportunity for locking down some property that has attributes on a few different levels. But back to my original question is, do we have a list, a target list of properties for conservation or open space that we would like to acquire given the opportunity?
None that I'm aware of.
Development has it.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say that the POCD outlines kind of what our target acquisitions should be. I can get the exact language on that, but it kind of pushes us to acquire certain types of land for conservation purposes.
So for example, there's like we would be looking for grassland.
Yeah.
There's on East Main Street, it's a little strange, but there's I gotta turn that on. Hold on. There's a sedge meadow
Mhm.
that was identified. So when you're driving up East Main and you're kind of almost at New Hartford town line, if you look to the right, there's like a depression. It's lower than the level of the road, and there's this kind of funny tufty grass area, and there's cows who lunch on that and
yeah.
keep that ecosystem the way that it is. That was of interest to us, though it's private property and it hasn't come up for sale. There hasn't been any discussion about it. There's
Why would we be interested in that piece? What was the interest there?
The interest is the rarity of that type of
Grassland habitat.
Oh, I see. I see. Yeah.
Then there's at the top of Red Mountain Avenue, or it's not Red Mountain Avenue. It's like North Pine. No, I'm so confused. Pine Ridge, perhaps.
Okay.
Road. It's an extension of Red Mountain Avenue. At the top of there, that's Old Abeling Mountain. And there's Beaver Pond, Beaver Meadow. Like this is right in the center of Torrington. There's a heron rookery.
Yep.
There's so a developer in Glastonbury owns that property, but because it's ledge, he can't get sewer. It's past the sewer.
So it's very unlikely
it's not going to be
again,
developed, but it's wildlife. It connects Sunnybrook, Burr Pond, Pognut State Forest. So it's an important wildlife corridor, an important habitat.
Yeah, again, those links are huge when you're doing land.
Exactly. And then there's the rail line at the bottom of Goodwin Street behind. It connects Route 4 to the Newfield Road. It's the old rail line.
Oh yeah.
So there's that piece.
So we acquired the piece on the other side of Newfield Road.
Exactly. So we want to get that piece that connects.
Yep.
At some point, and there's been negotiations for that for years too.
Yep.
And then the other one, I'm sure there were others, but the other one I know of, And I don't remember what happened with it. I don't remember if it was sold to a private party or if the family still owns it. But on Mountain Road, there was a Laurel, some guy who owned this property that's up on the mountain, has beautiful views, and he planted tons and tons of mountain laurel.
Oh, I've been there. I've seen it. I actually,
Yeah.
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So he wanted the city to have that and to preserve it, but he died before the deal was made, I think, was the history on that one. And then once the family was involved, they wanted money. So I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, there's a house on that property, right?
There is.
There's
If I may, I bought some stereo equipment from the Sun
Yeah.
and vintage stereo equipment, and there's the main house up on a high ridge or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
with
Nobody
really
can see
views of the city and an amazing Mount Laurel
Oh, yeah. Beautiful. Yeah.
entryway. And then next to that on the road is the Sun's house. And and I think he'd probably be the one you're talking to if anyone.
I mean, this was years ago. The deal didn't happen, but that was one of the ones that was the city was interested in. So those are the ones that I can remember.
Okay.
Well, I bring this up. I asked the question because I do think we should be, asking ourselves what's the best use of the money we have, and what's going to have the highest impact, and then rank order them and go from there. I'm not saying that the one off of Winstead Road isn't great, but I think we ought to look at our options before we start moving ahead with that.
Yeah, and we're not. Nobody's banging down the door to bring in subdivision applications. So I don't know that we're going to see, much in the way of the fee and lieu's getting to replenish that account.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the one that we acquired on the other side of, off of the Newfield Road, the back end of that railroad line. I mean, that one was just super fortuitous, and it was, I can't remember what we paid for it. It was like $12,000.
I'm not sure. You're talking about the one that extends behind like the apartment complex. Warrenton.
Warrenton Mills.
Yeah. Is that the area you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what we paid for it. That was before I came in.
It was like between 7 and 12, if I recall.
Okay.
It was just like super cheap. So, the thing is that we're not I mean, we all know this. It's not a wealthy city.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of development coming in that's funding us for open space. We don't have individuals who are donating land or funding us for open space. So we have a very small amount of money that takes time to accrue anything that you can do anything with, unless something fortuitous like pops up and and then we can act. So we want to have at least a little bit of money in the account for when those things happen. But in terms of our personal acquisition, it's not fast. It's an incredibly slow process, and it's like sort of like grabbing the low-hanging fruit. Like we don't have a lot of money and power to prioritize the acquisition of the things that are on our plan of conservation and development. That's like the downside. The upside is like, because there's not a huge amount of development happening, the land that we're interested in isn't at risk.
Yeah.
Either.
For the most part, right?
Is sitting there kind of
Well,
waiting.
to me, you've just described a good time to buy, frankly.
Right.
I mean, if we can get a really good value on property that's just sitting there, assuming things go well for the city in the coming years, I hope that will happen.
I mean, all the stuff we want isn't really buildable.
Okay.
Right. But this is kind of what comes up when people want to set aside open space during subdivisions. Is we like the wetlands protected, but
But they're already protected.
Right, but don't give us give us a representative piece of land. Don't give us the entire wetlands.
Right. I think that's one of the reasons why the fee in lieu of is better.
Yeah.
And Jeremy, when you were talking about acquiring this parcel, do we have any general ideas as to what specifically our use for it would be, or what the build out costs would be for that? I know somebody mentioned a boardwalk, and I'm just trying to think of an all-inclusive cost.
No, and I think our main objective is, I mean, we can speculate on what it might be used for, which is the trails would be great, but I think, you know, our main goal is to protect it first.
Mhm.
And then when we have more money, we can talk about things like boardwalks and well, I mean, I think first and foremost would be to not improve, but make that old trolley line walkable,
Mhm.
clean it up, you know, that kind of thing. I think that would be number one, and then go from there.
Is that piece next to Hokan Gas?
Not sure.
I think it's all
Hokan
part of
Gas
that
is on
same
the true.
wetland system, which is like it's a Class A wetland.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I know when you go down the road to where it tees off left and right, there's just a left and right tee there. And I think Hokan is off of that Machuga Road.
Is that like the trails? Yeah. Okay.
They have, I mean, they don't have much there. I think they just have storage tanks. So, you know, they just have like this platform, this concrete pad, and storage tanks for, I think, propane. So, and that their stuff is just surrounded by the most like really fabulous Class A wetland. And I think that it's next to this property, this piece of property, or close to this piece of property we would want to acquire.
So we do have access on two different roads, though. I think one was Machuga, and one what's the other one, that right where the trail starts?
Green,
Right where the parking lot for the beginning of the trail is.
Is that Harris?
Greenwoods?
Oh, it's Harris.
Yeah, Harris. Yeah. I think that's on either. Or well, I think Harris. It only connects to it by the old rail bed. It's like an extension of it, and the rest of it is off of Machuga.
Oh, let me look at our, sorry.
So just where we're leaving off, I'll try to get a meeting together with Ray, and maybe have Rista sit in and just knock it around a little and see if we can maybe just even make contact with him to take his temperature, the owner.
Does anybody know when we made our last acquisition?
The last one was the Newfield Road.
When was that?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
It was prior to, so how long have you been doing this, Jeremy?
Since last May, and I think it was maybe just before I came in.
Oh,
Oh, no. It was, Kim was.
Oh, was that long ago?
So yeah, it was that long ago.
Oh, so did we acquire another piece of that rail bed?
We tried to. I don't think that we succeeded.
I'll have to look at that. I thought maybe we actually got another piece, but I'll look at it.
God, I wish we did. I think the one behind Kmart, the one that connects to Route 4.
Yeah.
We were in negotiation for that. And I thought that it stalled, but maybe I'm.
I'll look. I'll make a
And
note.
if that's the case, that would have been the last one that we acquired, and it would have been right before you came on.
Yeah, that's the one. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I'll double check. All right. So yeah, I'll just, and I don't know that we should wait to connect until the next meeting for that. I should probably try to do that in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Because I mean, I ought to at least be starting on an application before next meeting if if it's something we need to pursue.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. I cannot get my, hold on a second, maybe. So my cursor is frozen, so I can't look at the agenda at the moment. Can somebody tell me what the next thing is?
Yeah, all we have left is the two records of meetings, and they're just in communications because we don't have to accept them.
Oh, okay.
So we wanted
We
to
have the
put,
Khaki Wicks conference summary.
oh no, I took that off.
Oh, okay, what do we have? Record of,
So it's record of meeting. We put February 13th back on the agenda only because we were finally accepting all these other minutes where we talked about the Notting Hill Gate development.
yeah,
So we figured we should at least put everything on having to do with that.
okay,
So everybody has it. And then there's the record of meeting from last month. We didn't have quorum. So they're not official minutes. I just typed them up. So if anyone has anything that looks odd with those February or March, let me know and I can correct it, but it'll just be in our records.
okay.
Okay.
All right,
And I think that's all I have. Yeah.
okay. So with that,
Hi.
it looks,
I have nothing further.
So to make it easy, we don't have to actually take a motion to adjourn if that's.
We don't?
We don't, no.
okay,
You could
All
just adjourn the meeting if you want to.
all right, so I'm adjourning the meeting. We're good.
Bye.
Okay.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon.
Everybody,
Everyone,
7:12, right? Is that what I have?
7:12.
Okay.
All right.
Everybody stay safe.
You too.
You too. Take
thank
care.
you, you too.
Bye.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, bye-bye.